In today's video, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of house sitting from our experience.
So first we're just going to run over what house sitting is, and then we're going to kind of cover what we would include in a house sitting profile if you do want to get started. And then we'll move into the pros and cons of house sitting.
So when people go traveling, oftentimes they'll have pets or plants or things that they need taken care of while they're gone. And there's a handful of websites that you can use to help pair them up with people like us or yourself who want to look after their home and take care of their pets and their plants while they're away traveling.
I really love this, but trusted house sitters called house sitting a way for pet lovers to travel. And I actually really like that definition because that's exactly how we think of it. The exchange is basically, you can stay at my house for free if you take care of my pets in my house. So on these main websites that we're going to be talking about today, there is no exchange of money between the house sitter and the house owner.
So from here, we'll touch on a few things to put in your house sitting profile to get you started. So on the Trusted House Sitters website, it's pretty foolproof to create a profile for yourself. This is because it kind of guides you through the process, but we'll give you a few tips on how to be chosen yourself.
So first, you're going to enter your general information like your name and your date of birth and your occupation. If you're going to be house sitting with someone, you'll have an opportunity to put that there as well. Try to be transparent as possible. They're not taking your information because they want to steal all your information. People just want to know who is going to be living in their house, who they're considering to really take care of all their belongings and their beloved pet while they're gone. So the more information that you provide, the better that your profile is going to look. Think about if you were leaving your house for a few days or a few weeks or a few months, and someone were to be living in it, you would probably want to know as much as you could about them as well. You'll also be asked to upload photos of yourself. So what we would recommend is uploading as many pictures as possible, number one, and number two, pictures of you smiling, looking happy and friendly. Also, if you have pictures with animals and pets, throw those in there as well. Those are super important. At the time, we have pictures of us with dogs and horses on our profile, but when we have the opportunity to take care of more pets, or even when we're hanging out with our friends' pets or whatever, we're going to really try to take pictures with cats and birds and all sorts of animals that we feel comfortable taking care of. And when you're writing your about section, just really try to make sure that you're including like all your experience working with animals, whether you've owned animals in the past, whether you've taken care of your friends' animals, or of course if you've done house sits before, then of course you want to include that information as well. And if you have any limitations as per what kind of animals you feel comfortable taking care of or not taking care of per se, then make sure to include that as well. So if you're not comfortable with, say, like big dogs, that's something that you're going to want to put in your profile. But the way that these websites are structured is that you apply to the house sit. So if you see a house sit that looks interesting for you and you want to take advantage of that, then you contact the owner of the house and then they'll take a look over your profile to see if you're well suited for the job. So on our house sitting profile, we say that, we travel in a self-converted ambulance, we're super flexible, we're open to taking care of all animals, big or small, we're always up for a challenge, and we put in our experience working with animals as well. And I definitely think that the more open and flexible you seem on your profile, the more likely someone is going to be to choose you.
So now we're going to touch on the pros and cons of house sitting, and this list is compiled of our personal experience over the last few months here and also the research that we've done for months prior. So first and foremost is a massive pro, which is you save on accommodation. This is a really great way for you to travel without having to pay Airbnb fees, without having to pay hotel fees, while having a unique and sometimes more comfortable experience. Obviously, a downside to this can be the amount of time that you're staying in a place. You kind of have a limited amount of hours that you can be away from the house. Typically, an animal will need to be fed in the morning, sometimes a lunch, and then dinner, definitely. So at least twice a day, which means that you can't be away from the home for an entire day or night or whatever it is. Most pets have a schedule. Although this is a really awesome opportunity, you still have responsibilities to take care of this person's home, their plants, and their pets. So we need to make sure that those needs are met.
Yeah, this is something that may be obvious to some people, but to other people, not so much, or you just don't really think about it, especially if you're taking care of like a pet that has special needs or like a farm with tons of animals. It really depends on your situation, but of course the pets are going to have schedules. Some are going to be higher maintenance and some are going to be lower maintenance. So these are just things to look out for. If this sounds like a really big con to you, then you should really keep an eye on what the description of the house it is and what they're going to require from you before you sign up for something like that. Anyways, if this all sounds like no problem to you so far, let's move on to the next pro, which is rent-free living. So this is a different way of doing house sits. So some people do house sits as a way to save money on accommodation for hotels and Airbnb, stuff like that, like Nick said. And some people actually just do house sits within their own hometown or home country. I've actually read a few blogs of people doing this for years at a time, and a really great way to save money if you're just trying to pay off debt or do something different or live a more nomadic lifestyle. This is a really cool way to do that. And if you work from home and you don't have a lot of possessions, then why not? There are all sorts of reasons why people would do house sits. Like, our situation is pretty unique as well. It's kind of neither of the two. Although I totally wish that we knew about house sitting when we were traveling, especially through Australia. But yeah, if you are using house sitting opportunities as a way to supplement, you know, having a place and paying rent somewhere else, again, just really read the conditions of the house sit. I have heard of sits before where you do have to pay utilities. Personally, we really think that, you know, the owners are already really benefiting from not having to pay for their dog or their cat or whatever pets they have to go into boarding. And there are still tons of people who charge for house sitting. So to use a website like Trusted House Sitters or Mind My House, the subscription fee is way less than having to actually pay someone to come to your house and take care of your pets in your home. And so we already personally think that it's a good deal and a really fair exchange between the sitter and the house owner. But if you don't agree, that's fine. It's just something to look into when you're considering houses to sit, especially if you're trying to save money. Anyways, yeah, of course, rent-free living is always going to be a pro. And another pro is that some house sits even allow you to use their car as well, which is really great. And then in terms of using house sitting as your way of living, like instead of paying rent somewhere or having your own apartment, the next point is kind of neutral. It can be a pro or a con depending on who you are. You can book house sits for the next 2 years. There are tons of opportunities online and you can really plan it all out so that you always have a place to stay. But the con for some people is that this requires a lot of organizing. So if that is not something that you like doing, scheduling your time and you know, kind of working with people to make it all work, if that's something you absolutely hate doing, then you might not like that aspect of house sitting. But if you're the type of person who kind of likes a challenge and you love organizing schedules and that's just who you are, then who knows, that might be a pro or a con, or it might just be neutral for you.
So house sitting isn't completely free for both the owner and the house sitter. All of these websites do have subscription fees that you have to pay. So we'll put the subscription fees on the screen now. Mind you, these are the prices as of this video upload, and they are definitely subject to change. So essentially, if you don't do it for a full year, you still have to pay the yearly subscription fee. So if you're just doing it for like a weekend getaway or something with friends or whatever, you still have to pay that fee, so it may not be worth it for you. Yeah,
like this is something that is interesting because if you're only doing it for say like a week in a country that, you know, staying in a hostel or a hotel isn't all that expensive. Like for example, if you were going to be staying in Cambodia for a week, you'd probably be able to find an accommodation that's cheaper than paying the yearly subscription for Trusted House Sitters.
Yeah.
But again, there are other pros of Trusted House Sitters other than just saving money on hotels, but that is something to consider. Is it going to be cheaper for you to just pay for the hotel?
Next on our list is a huge pro for us, which is you can kind of fill that void of really wanting a pet without having to have a pet. We're always tempted to get a pet, but this kind of offers us the opportunity to spend time with animals, which we love to do, without having to have a pet of our own and always bring him or her around with us traveling. So to us, that's a huge pro. And we love it. I think this is a major pro for a lot of people, especially backpackers or people who love to travel a lot, or people who are kind of nomadic, is this filling the pet fix kind of situation. Yeah, it's kind of like our aunt and uncle thing that we have going on right now too. Yeah.
Where it's like you take the baby for a bit and then you can give it right back.
Yeah, you don't have all the responsibility of a baby quite yet. Soon though. That's not a pregnancy announcement, by the way. We're just saying.
And we're pregnant!
It's the point of this whole video.
Such a weird announcement. Like the worst way to do it. Like 8 minutes into a house sitting video. Yeah, and also we're pregnant. Anyways. We're not pregnant.
We're not pregnant.
Yet. Or are we? Someone else.
Well, you'll never know.
Okay.
Another con for us is that you can't take overnight trips places. So if you are in another country and you want to go spend the night in a different province or city or town or whatever it is, you can't really do that. But you can ask if they have an animal and you want to bring them with you. You can always ask, but just be prepared for that to be a no, and understand that you can't really take overnight trips.
The other thing that you can ask too is if there's someone like a neighbor or someone who can do a one-night relief for you. So at the house sitting opportunity we're at right now, that is a discussion that we had before we started. So if we want to go overnight camping or something, there's a family member that lives in this city, so they're able to come and relieve us if we so wanted to do that. It's not really like encouraged for our current house sit, but some places might be like, oh yeah, no problem, the person who lives next door can come over like once a month or something. But it is that kind of thing that you do miss out on, especially if you're traveling and you're used to traveling in like hostels where it's like, okay, you meet a bunch of people and they're all going camping this weekend, and now it's like you can't go because you're taking care of the dog. So just make sure that you have that all sorted out and that you ask about what the rules are regarding 1 or 2 nights overnight.
I mean, for a lot of these owners, the animals are their babies, or they're, you know, the closest thing to a baby that they do have. Treat it as though it is somebody's baby, and just be as responsible and respectful as you can.
So that brings us to our next kind of con, is that you do have responsibility if things go wrong. So of course, if the pet gets sick or there's a break-in in the house, like these are obviously all terrible situations to happen, but they are something to consider. So if you're taking a 1-month house sit in Rome and you're just so excited to go play at the Vatican every day, and you know, like the dog breaks their leg or something, these are just such terrible examples. But really it is something to consider.
For,
your trip might be poo-pooed upon because the house and the pet is supposed to be your first priority. If anything does go wrong at the house, you're the person who's responsible for it at that time. So is that the type of responsibility you want to take on when you're going on your 1-week vacation that you saved up a whole year for, right? So it really depends where you're kind of at when it comes to your travels.
So this one is a pro for us. You kind of have the opportunity to potentially be outside of the city, out in the countryside, and you can kind of really see how like locals might live, which to us is a big pro. Oftentimes the owner will be able to tell you local hikes or things to do around the area that a lot of tourists maybe don't have the opportunity to do. That being said, if staying in the city is your thing, there are house sits for that as well.
I mean, the places that these opportunities could take you may be places that you otherwise would overlook. Even though right now we can't safely go to other countries, I still just love cruising through the house sits and just seeing all these beautiful opportunities in all of these places that some I haven't even heard of.
So this one can kind of be a pro or a con. For us, it happens to be a pro. You have to kind of keep your possessions pretty low. For us, we live out of this converted ambulance, so that means our possessions have to be relatively small anyways. So yeah, this can be kind of a pro or con, depending on how you like to live.
You never know why someone starts these experiences, right? Like if you're going through a breakup, or you know, you're sick of your job, or you're what you never know what someone's going through. And for some people, this can be a really good excuse to kind of just minimize their stuff, live a little more simply, go hang out with some pets.
Yeah, what's kind of cool about this opportunity is you get to kind of leave your own life temporarily and kind of see life from another person's perspective, which is to us a really cool opportunity. And you can really kind of connect with actual people without connecting with them. You can really kind of see how they live, which is it's just a cool opportunity.
And sometimes that can take you to super luxurious places. So the house sit that we're doing right now is not one of these, but we definitely have seen online that there are like some really luxurious places that people get to stay in, you know, with pools and saunas, like all sorts of things. You never know how people live and what kind of people are lending out their house as they go for their trip to Mexico for a week, right? There are all types of house sits. You can stay for a weekend and someone's like downtown New York apartment, or you could live in the countryside in Tuscany for 3 months. Even here up in the Rocky Mountains, there was a house sitting opportunity for an entire year. And if you have the patience to actually look through and wait for the right opportunities, you could see yourself somewhere really interesting and cool.
Which we think would be like awesome for somebody who's a little younger, who maybe doesn't know what they want yet, and you're just kind of figuring it out. This can be a really great opportunity to try different things out all around the world, live different types of lives, and you can really kind of hone in on what your interests are, what your values are, and you can really kind of figure out what you want to do in life, who you want to be, where you want to be. It presents a really cool opportunity.
Which is something that is so great about traveling in general. That's definitely why we love traveling so much, and this is such an interesting way to travel. Which actually kind of brings us to our next pro, which is this is a super comfortable way to travel. This can be a really nice treat because, you know, you have fast Wi-Fi and cable and laundry, of course, all depending on the house that you take. People's homes obviously offer a comfort that traditional hotels or hostels can't offer. And this is why I think Airbnb is so popular too, right? Because you actually just get to stay in someone's place,
You don't have to cook out of a coffee pot in a hotel. You can cook on a stove with pots and pans and make your own nice home-cooked meals instead of having to order out or cook noodles in a coffee pot.
And that brings us to another pro, which is if you work from home, you kind of get to have a new office all the time. I know that a lot of us who choose to work from home just love the opportunity of being able to not have to be in that same kind of routine every day and go to the same office. And the way that I see it is that you kind of counteract that if you're just living in the same place for a day in and day out. You're kind of having your own routine and your own little office now. So this is a really great way to have different offices all the time. I just love it. I love moving around. If you can't tell, this is like kind of what we do. We really like the lifestyle of being on the road and having a change of pace, picking ourselves up all the time and kind of rerouting. It's kind of, for now at least, the way that we've really decided that we like to live our lives. So if that sounds attractive to you, then you might like house sitting as well.
So I guess that's kind of all we really have to say about that for now. So we will see you in the next one. Bye.